Hello, and thank you for tuning in to KZGN News. I'm Tanya Pyle, and today's news lineup includes stories on waste management, RPD upcoming DUI checkpoint, an update on the Chimney and Owens Peak fire, election news, notice of a public meeting, results from the China Lake Museum Foundation fundraiser, and the news you're interested in and requested, gas prices.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Waste Management is acquiring 100% of Ben's sanitation assets. Eloise Orozco said, if all goes well, the sale is anticipated to conclude August 1st. Basically, Waste Management is in process of an acquisition to acquire 100% of the remaining Ben's sanitation with a seamless experience for all customers. Waste Management will now be owner of all Ben's assets, which began in 1974 by Paul and Joan Benz. The family operation served Kern, Los Angeles, and San Bernardino counties. They expanded from waste into propane in 1983 and became leader in recycling when they opened a material recovery facility in 1989. In 2013, the business expanded to include mobile document shredding. Additionally, Ben's has a portable toilet and a septic pumping service. Currently, Waste Management services Ridgecrest and California City. It's a great opportunity to expand our business in that area, Orozco said. All current customers serviced by Ben's will continue service with Waste Management. We're still in the process of it, Orozco said. If all goes well, more information will come out. Ridgecrest Police Department will conduct a driving under the influence and driver's license checkpoint and DUI enforcement operations saturation patrol this weekend. The Ridgecrest Police Department Traffic Unit will conduct the checkpoint at an undisclosed location within city limits between the hours of 7 o'clock p.m. to 11 o'clock p.m. Ridgecrest Police Department's Driving Under the Influence Enforcement Team will also be deployed to stop and arrest alcohol and drug-impaired drivers in the department's ongoing safety campaign. The DUI saturation patrols will also deploy Friday, June 10th between the hours of 11 o'clock p.m. and 3 o'clock a.m. in areas with high frequencies of DUI collisions and/or arrests. The deterrent effect of DUI checkpoints is a proven resource in reducing the number of persons killed and injured in alcohol or drug-involved crashes. Research shows crashes involving impaired drivers reduce by up to 20% when well-publicized DUI checkpoints and proactive DUI patrols are conducted routinely. DUI checkpoints are placed in locations based on collision statistics and frequency of DUI arrests according to the greatest opportunity for achieving drunk and drugged driving deterrence. Locations are chosen with safety considerations for the officers and the public. In California, this deadly crime led to 867 deaths and over 23,000 serious injuries in 2013 because someone failed to designate a sober driver. Nationally, the latest data shows over 10,000 were killed by an impaired driver. Officers will be looking for signs of alcohol and/or drug impairment, with officers checking drivers for proper licensing. The exercise is expected to result in only momentary delays to motorists. When possible, specifically trained officers will be available to evaluate those suspected of drug-impaired driving, which now accounts for a growing number of impaired driving crashes. Recent statistics reveal 30% of drivers in fatal crashes had one or more drugs in their systems. A study of active drivers showed more tested positive for drugs that may impair for alcohol, 7.3%. Of the drugs, marijuana was most prevalent at 7.4%, slightly more than alcohol. Everyone should be mindful if you're taking medication, whether prescription or over-the-counter. Drinking even small amounts of alcohol can greatly intensify the impairment effects. Law enforcement emphasizes the preventable nature of drunk driving, reminding everyone all it takes is a little planning ahead. Designate a sober driver or call a cab. But whatever you do, don't drink and drive. The California Office of Safety Traffic DDVIP Designated Driver VIP mobile app is now available for free. Download on iOS and Android devices. Launched last year, the new DDVIP app offers enhanced features. California fire incident update on the Chimney wildfire. The Chimney Owens Peak fire is the first big wildfire in California this year. The Chimney fire was reported to the Bureau of Land Management approximately 3:30 p.m. June 1st in the area of Chimney Peak Campground and the southwest corner of Tulare County. The area straddles the Kern County line where the Pacific Crest Trail closed between Highway 178 and Kennedy Meadows. Presently, the Pacific Coast Trail and 9 Mile Road are now open to public use. Ground-based GPS mapping measured the fire perimeter at 1,324 acres, a significant reduction in first reports of acreage due to original perimeter mapping measured by helicopter. Abby Bolt of the U.S. Forest Service said, "The reason the fire was larger when we got there for the initial attack is it's way up there in the wilderness. It's not that easy to access. Good news, the fire is 95% contained as mop-up is nearing completion. Crews will continue fire line suppression repair where appropriate." Transition to a Bureau of Land Management Type 3 team began this morning, and the fire is projected to be fully contained by tomorrow, Tuesday morning. No structures or private property was destroyed, but concern remains for archaeological sites and for any hikers on the Pacific Crest Trail. The cause of the fire is recorded simply as human. The total number of 522 personnel were involved in containment efforts. Chimney Peak Canebrake Road will remain closed to all traffic until further notice for firefighter and public safety. Candidates Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are making their final push in the Bay Area before tomorrow's day to get out the vote. Just before tomorrow's election, Clinton was in San Diego and Sacramento. Donald Trump has been in Redding and is presumed to be in transit today. He's scheduled to be at Trump Tower in New York tomorrow. As candidates campaign in California, David French won't be among the presidential candidates hitting the California campaign trail. The third-party presidential candidate catapulted into the political arena published his decision to the National Review Sunday to not run. French, a self-described obscure lawyer, writer, and veteran, wrote in his article, "His decision came after days of prayer, reflection, and an in-depth study of the possibilities." Although not seeing himself as the one to challenge Trump or Hillary, he does believe a path exists for such a challenge and said it could be met with modest effort based on his findings. He claimed, "The time for an independent is better than most people know, with many, many Americans, including outstanding political talents, willing to quit their jobs today to provide the American people with an alternative." His position that others could run and win pointed specifically to Mitt Romney. French described our times as, quote, "historic," and wrote, quote, "Never before have both parties failed so spectacularly, producing two dishonest, deceitful candidates who should be disqualified from running for town council, much less leader of the free world." His article goes on to support why neither Hillary nor Trump are qualified. On the chances for a successful third candidate, French expressed his belief in an American movement ready to both resist the corruption, decadence, and dishonesty of the American elite and restore promise of the American dream. But French conceded, quote, "The movement may not emerge for some time, and it may emerge only after further heartache and pain." French commended each person in the effort to recruit an independent candidate as, quote, "a patriot," saying, quote, "We live in a time when patriots are mocked and demagogues celebrated." French took a stand to GOP National Chairman Reince Priebus' remark that those involved in the independent effort were, quote, embarrassing themselves. In response, French asked whether it was, quote, more embarrassing to do your best to defend the nation you love from two people who are unworthy of its highest office. According to French, nations are built on virtue, and courage is indispensable. He continued, quote, there is also prudence, and he concluded for him to take on this task was, quote, simply not prudent. David French is an attorney, a staff writer for National Review, and a veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom. On Measure F, Roy Paris made these comments to KZGN News.
Tonya, I'm speaking to you as a member of the group Yes on Measure F here in Ridgecrest, an advocacy group supporting Measure F. My experience has been with the Friends of the Ridgecrest Branch Library, and I am a past president, but the current initiative I'm speaking to you about is Yes on Measure F.
Thank you so much for that clarification. So people are preparing to go to the polls. I think that's the only measure on the ballot.
It is the only measure on the ballot.
So is it necessary to have this initiative? Could we have done without it? Could the library survive without Measure F, without the privatization of it? You're obviously decided they need the initiative. Tell us about that.
On March 8th, the Board of Supervisors voted to put this on the ballot, and at that point in time they said if it did not pass, they would proceed with issuing a request for information to see if there was somebody who would bid on actual operation of the labor part of operating the library. The county would, at that point in time, if they did that, would maintain ownership of the library, the books, and the facilities, but they would contract out the actual operations.
Okay.
So if this does not pass, what the Board of Supervisors has said is that would be their next step. They have also said, the chairman of the board, Supervisor Gleason, has said he does not think there will be additional general fund money available for libraries.
Okay.
So a 2.5% cut has already been announced for next year's budget across the board for the county general fund funded activities. It's very likely the reduction could be greater than that. So if this does not pass, that would be what we could expect to see. Like an RFI issued by the Board of Supervisors, which could result in contracting out of the operation of the libraries, as well as a reduction in the size of the library budget. Why we need Measure F. Lois Henry, a newspaper columnist in Bakersfield, used a statistic here a couple of weeks ago that I thought was amazing, that the current size of the budget for libraries in the county of Kern is approximately the same as it was in the year 2000. So after 16 years, although the population of the county is increased by about 1/3, the size of the budget for libraries remains about the same.
Mm-hmm.
So the library gets cut during bad times, but when times get good again and the price of the barrel of oil goes up, that doesn't mean that the size of the library budget increases commensurate with what the availability of money might be.
Okay.
what the Director of Libraries has announced that we could expect to see, if this would pass, would be library branch hours would increase by about 60% across the county. And we are very fortunate here in Ridgecrest to have the second largest, in terms of volume, branch in the county. So we have 5 days of operation currently. We could anticipate a sixth based on what the Director of Libraries has said. There would be more materials available in multiple formats at the library. Children and teen programs would be increased, and there would be an increase in the technology available within the library, the computers, computer programs. For many people, their access to the internet is through our public library. One other thing announced that would be a result would be an increase in the staffing here in Ridgecrest. When the professional librarian at our library retired in January of 2015, that position was not refilled. That's a vacancy. So there would be an increase in staffing here, including filling that position. So, and I'm speaking to you as Yes on Measure F. We try to keep these very separate. The Friends of the Library is what I've done as just an advocate for the libraries, but the Yes on Measure F is something that I'm speaking to you as part of the Yes on Measure F committee here in Ridgecrest.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us at this time before folks prepare to go to the polls. Appreciate your input.
An open house, Section 106 public meeting will be conducted by the Naval Air Weapons Station concerning whether or not to demolish the nearly 1,000-seat Bennington Theater. NAS seeks public input regarding implementation of potential mitigation measures to reduce impact of demolishing the historic structure. Mark your calendar for the Section 106 public meeting Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. June 14th, 1 week from tomorrow. It all takes place at the Spring Hill Suites by Marriott, located at 113 East Sydnor Avenue, right here in Ridgecrest. Again, that's 1 week from tomorrow. China Lake Museum Foundation held their dinner auction Saturday, June 4th at the Kerr-McGee Center. Alice Campbell announced the $250,000 grant was approved toward the Phase 1 move into Ridgecrest, together with approval to move an existing code-approved building to the new site. The new site is on Las Flores Avenue between the Matarengo Museum and Kern County Park. The annual dinner auction offered excellent entertainment, while fine works of original art and lots of small items were auctioned, all in support of relocating the museum. For more than 2 decades, the foundation has helped preserve the historical and technical legacy of China Lake. The effort to relocate the museum serves to create a focal point of tourism growth in Ridgecrest, offering a great place for families to gather and learn about significant local, national, and international history. About 300 people attended, Campbell said. We haven't done a total summary of it all, but I think it was pretty significant. She said it was a good fundraiser and described the dinner auction with bucket raffles as very fun, very typical of fundraisers we've had in the past. She said, I don't know if it was as good as last year, but it did quite well. Campbell said, although the sound system in the gymnasium is new, she noted it was very difficult to communicate so people could hear. She said, I don't want to be negative, but the building has poor acoustics. Overall, she described the event as lots of fun with friends and a satisfying way to spend money on something that benefits all of us. Now for the news you've requested, here are today's gas prices for Ridgecrest and some surrounding areas, including Bishop, the LA Valley, and Lancaster. While Ridgecrest remains the lowest overall, gas prices continue upwards. We'll start with Bishop, where one station is low as $2.74. They have 3 stations at $2.83 and one, the highest price in Bishop, being $2.99 per gallon. The LA Valley area is low as $2.57, with prices all over the map, with one station with a high of $3.33 per gallon. The Lancaster lowest gas price as of this morning is $2.69, and all over the map, tying with the Bishop high at $2.99 per gallon. Finally, Ridgecrest has 3 stations as low as $2.53 per gallon, 1 at $2.79, and 3 at a high of $2.89 per gallon. Ridgecrest has the lowest gas prices overall, and it's good to remember when you buy locally, those tax dollars go to pave our roads. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Lane for the weather.
Thank you, Tanya. The National Hurricane Center continues to monitor Tropical Storm Colin. Colin is expected to bring heavy rain, strong winds, coastal flooding, and isolated tornadoes to portions of the southeast on Monday. Tropical storm warnings are in effect. Temperatures across the nation. Carolinas at 78, Georgia at 81, Arkansas at 87, Northern Texas at 83, Arizona at 100, and Los Angeles at 62. And for us locally, tonight, mostly clear with a low around 74, west wind 5 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 20. Tuesday, sunny with a high near 107, southwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tuesday night, mostly clear with a low around 74, west wind 5 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 25. Wednesday, sunny with a high near 107, south wind 5 miles per hour. Wednesday night, partly cloudy with a low around 71, west wind 5 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 20. Thursday, sunny with a high near 102, south wind 5 miles per hour. Thursday night, mostly clear with a low around 69, west-southwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 25. And Friday, sunny with a high near 97, south-southwest wind 5 to 15 miles per hour. And that is your forecast for the IWV. Now back to Tanya.
Thanks, Lane. Now let's go to Tom Heck for sports.
And a very pleasant Monday early evening to everyone. Let's talk about the NBA, or maybe we shouldn't talk about the NBA. The finals not real interesting. First 2 games, blowouts. Both games go to Golden State. They beat Cleveland 110 to 77 last night, and it really wasn't that close. Game 3 will be in Cleveland on Wednesday night. Game 4 scheduled Friday night in Cleveland. Now let's hope the Cavaliers get Kevin Love back. He had to leave the game in the third quarter with a potential concussion, and they really need him to be competitive. Hopefully he'll be back in the lineup. All right, the NHL Stanley Cup Finals, even non-hockey fans pay attention. Boy, there are some great games in this series. The Sharks are playing against Pittsburgh. First Stanley Cup Finals for the San Jose Sharks. And they were down 2-0. Game 3 was Saturday night in San Jose. Overtime, 3-2 winners, the Sharks. It was a great game. The game before that in Pittsburgh also went to overtime. The Penguins won that game by a score of 2-1. So game number 3 up in San Jose tonight should be very interesting. I beg your pardon, game 4 should be very interesting tonight. If the Sharks can win tonight, game 5 would be in Pittsburgh on Thursday night. Let's talk about Yannick Djokovic. Djokovic had a 4-set win against Andrew Murray in the French Open. Now, he won in 4 sets, but the storyline is this. The French Open is one of the 4 majors in tennis. For 4 years in a row, Djokovic has won each major. That has not been done since 1969 when Rod Laver, the Australian, did it. So, Djokovic right now on top of the tennis world. All right, the Angels had a good weekend in Pittsburgh. They win 2 of 3. Luis Pujols, 2-run homer in the 8th inning yesterday. Put the Angels 5-4 winners over the Buccos. The Angels start today 8 games behind the Texas Rangers. The Rangers beat Seattle 3-2. They took all 3 games this weekend in Arlington against Seattle. Seattle, who was in first place, now 3 games back in the race. Angels tonight will be in New York to take on the Yankees. The start of 3. Then the Angels will come home Friday night. They'll take on Cleveland, and they'll finish the homestand with Minnesota. All right, let's talk about the Dodgers. The Dodgers sweep the lowly Braves 12-6 yesterday. The Dodgers now 4.5 games behind the Giants, who lost 2 of 3 in St. Louis. Other winners on Sunday: Miami, Kansas City, Colorado, Tampa Bay, Houston, Boston, and Arizona. All right, Muhammad Ali passes away at 74. By now everyone has heard, I'm sure. Muhammad Ali was brought into the world at the age of 22. That's where he got headlines everywhere throughout the world. The champ at that time was Sonny Liston. Ali took him out in the first round. And then a couple years later, in a rematch, the first time was 15 rounds. The second time he fought Liston, it was a first round TKO. So Muhammad Ali, considered one of the greatest fighters ever in boxing, maybe truly the greatest that ever lived in the boxing realm. I remember as a young guy watching Muhammad Ali battle Joe Frazier, Jerry Quarry, and Kenny Norman. Just phenomenally quick, a sportsman, a showman, an ambassador for the boxing world, an ambassador for all sports, a politician in a way, a great entertainer. But one thing for sure about Muhammad Ali, when he said he was going to do something, he did it. And who could forget those great interviews with Howard Cosell? I think each guy made the other one a little bit more famous as it went on. His famous line, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." And that's how I'll remember him. Very quick with a great jab for the right and then the left. Ali was 74 years old. That's your sports for this Monday. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
Thank you again for tuning in to KZGN-TV News, the only station dedicated to news serving Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley.